All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to unpack the official blueprint for the state of Myanmar. We're talking about the document that lays out the entire structure of the nation, its 2008 constitution.
Right from the jump, the preamble frames this whole thing as the collective will of the people. It says, hey, this was drafted by us, for us. That really sets the stage for everything that comes next.
And that's exactly how we're going to approach this. Like we're looking over an architect's shoulder at a blueprint. Every constitution is really a design for a country. And this one, well, it has a very particular design. So let's see what it's all about. Like any good blueprint, this one kicks off with a vision. The preamble doesn't just dive into laws and rules. First, it paints a picture of the ultimate goals for the nation. So what's the foundation it's trying to build on? Well, the Constitution resolves to make sure the country stays unified, stays sovereign, and aims for these big ideals, right? Justice, liberty, and equality for all its diverse peoples. These are the core promises at the very heart of the design. So, with that vision in mind, how does the blueprint actually build the structure? Next up are the non-negotiables. Chapter I lays out 6 foundational principles. Think of them as objectives that are meant to guide the entire state. Now, as we walk through these, the first 5 probably sound pretty familiar, right? They're common to a lot of democratic systems: unity, sovereignty, democracy, justice. But then you get to number 6. It explicitly carves out a national political leadership role for the defense services. This is an absolutely critical piece of the blueprint to keep in your back pocket as we go. So, how does this blueprint actually organize power? Well, Article 11 lays out a structure that should look familiar to a lot of you. 3 main pillars: separating the powers of government, creating a system of checks and balances. And this lays it out perfectly. You've got your legislature, the Union Assembly, which makes the laws. Then you have the executive, led by the president, who carries out those laws. And finally, the judiciary, with the Supreme Court at the top to interpret the laws. On the surface, it's a pretty standard design. But remember that 6th principle we just talked about? This is where we have to dig into the most unique feature of this blueprint: the formally defined role of the defense services, also known as the Tadmidel. This isn't some minor detail. It's a core part of the structure, almost like a steel frame built directly into the design of the building. So, the first obvious question is, where does this steel frame show up in the lawmaking part of government? How exactly does the military take part in the legislature? Well, the answer is spelled out very clearly in Articles 109 and 141. A full 25%, that's 1/4 of all seats in both houses of the national parliament, are reserved for defense services personnel. This isn't just a possibility, it's a constitutional guarantee. And here's the real kicker. These military representatives aren't elected by the public. They are directly nominated, handpicked really, by the head of the military, the commander-in-chief. This gives the military a direct and very significant voice in every single law that gets discussed. Okay, so that's the legislature. What about the executive branch? The part of government that's supposed to be carrying out the laws and running the country day to day? The blueprint is crystal clear here too. 3 of the most powerful ministries are constitutionally reserved for the military. The president is required to appoint serving military officers, again nominated by the commander-in-chief, to lead defense, home affairs, and border affairs. This effectively puts the entire security apparatus of the state under military control. And the Constitution actually goes even further. Article 20 gives the defense services the primary responsibility for safeguarding the Constitution. Think about that for a second. In this design, the military isn't just a participant. It's positioned as the ultimate guardian of the blueprint itself. This whole guardian role becomes sharpest when you look at the rules for a state of emergency. The Constitution defines this as a crisis so bad that it threatens the very existence of the nation, echoing those founding principles we saw earlier. And in a crisis like that, Article 40 is completely unambiguous. It gives the commander-in-chief of the defense services the right to take over and exercise all state power. It's the blueprint's ultimate failsafe, designed to place sovereign authority directly into military hands. Okay. So let's zoom out and look at the final design. When you put all these pieces together, what kind of structure have we really been looking at? What you really see are 2 parallel tracks of authority. On one side, you have the civilian government, led by an elected president. But running right alongside it is the military, with guaranteed power in the legislature, control over key ministries, and of course, the ultimate authority in a crisis. And this is really the core of the whole thing.
The 2008 Constitution creates a formal hybrid system. It's a blueprint where democratic institutions are specifically designed to coexist and operate in tandem with a military that has significant and permanent political power baked right into the Constitution itself.
It's a truly unique and complex design for a state, and it leaves us with a final and maybe the most crucial question to think about. How does a blueprint on paper, with all its specific rules, roles, and power structures, ultimately shape the day-to-day reality of a nation?